30 cheerleaders are leaping across mats in a dizzying blur of motion and power. A double back handspring full twist whips by, making room for another and another. Then, as the loud music blares over the CD player, 3 groups interlock hands and hurl 3 tiny teammates 30 feet into the air. Like fireworks, the girls' bodies hang, open, and then descend gracefully into the arms of waiting teammates. This was a quote from an article in Time magazine. The skill level involved in competitive cheerleading clearly shows that cheerleaders are exceptional athletes. To perform, they must be as strong as any football player, as attentive as the best baseball player, and as coordinated as any basketball player. The fact that they don't tackle their opponents to the ground for a ball does not mean that cheerleading is not a sport. Cheerleaders work just as hard as other athletes work, and practices alone are just as long and intense. When cheerleading was first around, there was no tumbling, competing, they rarely put girls in the air, and they did not have practices at least 5 times a week. Cheerleading was simply known as the cute little girls dressed in skirts yelling on the sideline. Today, competitive cheerleading is more than just pom-poms and smiles. It's a sport that requires a great amount of strength, balance, and coordination. USA Today stated that colleges, high school, and now all-star cheerleaders compete for national championships across the nation. Cheerleaders risk terrible injury, and some may even result in death. They even are offered college scholarships and in some cases practice more than the football team does. USA Today also reported that American Cheerleader lists 225 colleges that offer full and partial scholarships. Penn State awards $1,500 annually to cheerleaders who maintain a 3.0 GPA, while Three Rivers Community College awards a dozen full tuition scholarships. The NACWAA, which stands for the National Association of Collegiate Women Athletics Administrators, stated that in the year 2003, the University of Maryland became the first Division I college to sanction competitive cheerleading as an NCCA varsity sport. USA Today stated that today there are 22 states in the United States that actually consider cheerleading a sport. Cheerleading is one of the fastest growing sports for girls and women, with an estimated of 3.8 million participants in the United States. And according to the IHSA, competitive cheerleading is now governed under the IHSA sports bylaws. So, why do people today still not consider cheerleading a sport? Some say it's not as it's judged, or it's a competition. Is it a sport? Isn't genetics judged? Isn't that considered about it? Also, in the Olympic judge. For example, if you think of football and sports are referees to determine, for example, just basketball or the foul, the refs have to really whether they're a touchdown, whether they're or because cheerleading play not refereed made as judged. Still does not mean just because it's not a sport. It's not. But however, the main reason that experts say it's not a sport is because of Title IX. For those of you who do not know what Title IX is, it was the first comprehensive federal law to prohibit sex discrimination against students and employees of educational institutions. Basically, it was to make women and men equal. Jamie Scott, a cheer reporter for Florida State University, stated that people don't consider cheerleading a sport because it is co-ed and does not have 2 separate teams of female and male. Personally, that's a silly reason to not be considered a sport. And if you want to get technical, hockey doesn't have male and female teams. Girls just play on the male team, so then hockey shouldn't be considered a sport. And according to the Encarta Dictionary, the definition of a sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill that is governed by a set of rules or customs and undertaken competitively. Well, since cheerleading is an activity that involves physical exertion and skill, is governed by a set of rules and undertaken competitively, then according to the definition of a sport, cheerleading is a sport. And now I'm going to show you a little clip from my team competing like 2 years ago, getting ready for nationals. So let's face it, many people today envision cheerleading as a bunch of airheads jumping up and down, cheering as if they care about something. This is a typical, stereotypical view of what many people think about cheerleading. But what people don't see is what cheerleading really is. To many cheerleaders, cheerleading isn't just a game like football or basketball. Cheerleading is a way of life. Cheer teams work extremely hard for national championships, and it takes just as much dedication as any other skill or as any other sport. And sometimes it may even take more. The problem is that people have no idea what it really takes to be a cheerleader. They make it look so easy. They work just as hard as other sports, and still some don't consider it a sport. Just like cross country they run, like football they toss, like soccer they kick, like track and field they jump. And they even risk their lives in pyramids. And according to cheerleading in the USA Today's news article stated, Memphis All-Star cheerleaders practice 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, adding games and appearances, and cheerleaders spend 20 to 25 hours a week at their craft, and more for big competitions. So you can argue whether cheerleading is a sport or not, but as many as 22 state high school organizations say that it is. Cheerleading has evolved over the past 20 years from being an activity where members were selected based on their popularity to now that cheerleading is some of the more talented athletes in school. Sports is no longer sports. Girls and great American cheer found they care about the nation. It's that requires a kind of strength, competitiveness, and core-solving physics. Sports are defined skill, competitive cheerleading has to act considered as physical as, or today many since recognizing has to be cheerleading sport because of the increase of athletics and competitive with sports cheerleading squad. And in the near future, others will continue to recognize competitive cheerleading hope sport if you realize exactly what cheerleading really is.